We suffer a lot because we think that we need something in our life, that we're not whole, that we're lacking something, that something is missing. And that once we get that golden goodie, then we will be able to live a great life, success or whatever it might be for you. And the thing is that we're always seeking. We always have desires for something. We're always seeking for a better job, for a better relationship, for better friends, for this amount of money, for this new thing, for this new that. We always have our eyes on the future. And because of this, we're missing out on this moment, which all there is in reality. In reality, there is no past or future. There is only now. And to show you that you already have what you want, and that you're not lacking, and that also we don't really know what we want. Let me tell you this great story that I heard from Alan Watts. Now imagine if you could dream any dream that you want for any amount of time. And when you go to sleep, these dreams would feel real and you have total control over them. Now what would you dream? If you're like me, you probably go on fulfilling all of your wishes and all of your dreams. You would have these crazy dreams, living through all sorts of pleasures, any kind of pleasure imaginable by human beings. So you would have these crazy parties and banquets and orgies, any kind of pleasure. You would go on fulfilling all of your wishes. And then, after a month of total pleasure, every single day for 70 years of time, you would wake up and say that, whew, this was great, but now let's have something else. Let's have a dream that is not totally under my control. Let's have a surprise. Because you would get bored of that pleasure. You would get used to it. And you would want something else, something new, something exciting, a surprise. So you'll arrange the next dream that something is going to happen and you don't know what it is going to be. Then you go to sleep and then you have this great adventure. You don't know what's going to happen next. It's all a surprise. Then you wake up and say that, whew, this was great. This was a close call. Let's do it again. And then you start getting more and more adventurous, making further out gambles, having these great dreams where you don't know what's going to happen. You start having these dreams that are not under total control because you want to have a surprise. So you'll go on saving the princess, not knowing whether or not you'll survive or not. And then your dreams would start getting more and more out of your control. You start putting more and more surprises into your dreams. More and more, you don't know what's going to happen next. And you'll end up dreaming that you're here right now, watching a video about a guy talking to you about dreams. Do you understand? Like, if you had total control over your dreams, you would end up dreaming the life that you're living life right now. Or the same thing, if you had total control over your life and over everything, you would still end up where you are right now. Because, you see, we don't want to control everything. That's not what we want. Because if you could imagine, if we could control everything, we would know what's going to happen in the future, but we don't want that. Because if you think about it, when you're playing cards with someone, and you're down to the last few moves, and you already know what's going to happen, you already know who's going to win, you stop playing because it's boring. And you shuffle the deck and play another game. It's the same thing with chess. When they both know that a person has lost and there's nothing that they can do about it, there are like 3 moves left of the game, they don't even play those 3 moves because you already know what's going to happen. There's no excitement, there's no surprise in it. So we don't want to control everything. That's not what we want. Maybe what we want is just a surprise. Maybe we just want something that we don't know what it is going to be. And of course, when we ask what kind of surprises do we want, how do we answer to that? Because if we know what kind of surprise we get, that's not a surprise. And you can't have a pleasant surprise without an unpleasant surprise. And this is a great story to keep in mind. And I forget it a lot of times. And when I remember it, I'm just not anxious about the future anymore. I'm just much more peaceful and yeah, not anxious about the future, because this question that if you could dream any dream, what kind of dreams would you dream, is the same kind of question as what do you desire, what do you want, and it's the same kind of going through it. Like, you don't know what you want. You want a surprise, something that you don't know what's going to happen. You might say that you, yeah, want all this pleasure and everything, but really, do you really want a bunch of pleasure for the rest of your life? You'll get bored of it, trust me. Really gotta go through this in your mind. You will get bored of it. You end up like the Romans, who had all sorts of pleasure imaginable, and the only thing they could get a kick out of was pain. They went to that extent. They had to like have these crazy festivals that lions were eating people, and that's the only things that they would get a kick out of. Because once you explore all the limitations of pleasure, the only thing that you could get a kick out of is pain. And also the thing is that you can't have pleasure without pain. Those things are inseparable. You can't just erase one of them. You don't know pain without pleasure, and you don't know pleasure without pain. So we don't really know what we want. I mean, I guess what we want is a surprise. And maybe we are whole, and maybe we don't need anything else to be complete, and we are already complete. And everything is perfect as it is. I hear there's a lot of people talking about this, and this is what I'm trying to understand, what I'm trying to feel, that everything is perfect as it is, that it's all just right. And maybe the purpose of life is just to live, and that's it. There's nothing beyond it. Because when we ask the question, what is the purpose of life? Well, first of all, that might even be a wrong question to begin with. But it's definitely not something off in the future. Because as we said, it doesn't exist. The future is just an abstraction. So it has to be here in the present moment. And how I see it is life is more like a musical thing. It's more like dancing. And what's the point of dancing? Why do you dance? Why do you play music? Why do you play? Why do you kick a ball around just for the sake of it? You see, the point of dancing is the dance itself. You don't dance to get somewhere. You don't play music to get to the final note. Now, if that was the case, the best players would be the ones that play the fastest. The point of music is the music itself. The point of dancing is the dance itself. And I think that that's how it is with life also. The point of it is just itself. It's just this moment. There is nothing beyond it. And there is no like real point to it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest. And it's not like that we have to go on living. No, why do that? Why go on living? Because if you tell we have this idea that we have to go on living, and we have this drive to go on living. But if you tell this to a tree or a plant, that you must go on living, then it will look at it as like a task, and it gets boring. It's just as the same way when you tell someone that you must play football, or that you must play the piano, then it gets boring. Then you don't want to do it anymore. It's the same way. There is no need to go on living. If you tell a tree that you must grow apples, it will stop doing it. It's boring. So I think that life is just more playful. It has a more playful and nonsensical, if that is even a word, nature. A more nonsensical nature. More playful nature. And maybe it's just enough that we're conscious, that we're here, that we get to experience this life. Or more correctly, that we are the universe aware of itself, experiencing itself. And that we're not something separate from it. We're not this isolated ego that lives in here, and that there's a scary world that isn't just completely different from us. No. You are something that the whole universe is doing. You are a function of the whole universe, an expression of it. And that you are inseparable from the universe. And in the same way, the universe is inseparable from you. You have this connection between you. Just like bees with flowers. You can't have bees without flowers. And you can't have flowers without bees. Or the same bugs that do the same job. You can't have self without other. Or other without self. You can't have something without nothing, or nothing without something. All of these exist in pairs, in these polarities. You can't have one without the other. So in reality, they are the same. They are like the end of a stick. Yes, there are two ends, but it's the same stick. You can't have one without the other. Me without something else, or something else without me. Conscious without unconscious, or unconscious without conscious. Nothing without something, something without nothing. Outside without an inside, and inside without an outside. You can't have these without each other. And you are just in the same relationship with everything else around you. You don't exist without everything else around you. And everything else around you doesn't exist without you. And now I might have said a bunch of bullshit in this video, so you don't have to listen to me, but I just like talking about these kind of stuff. And yes, you probably have noticed that I took a bunch of ideas from Alan Watts, but I just love it. I love it, why not? So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts, you can freely share them in the comments. Very interested about what you think about this. So thank you for being here. Have a great day and goodbye.